All right, so a sample of gas occupies 450 milliliters. So what piece of information is that giving you if it says milliliters? We're going to write all of our givens up here. Volume, exactly. So we're going to go ahead and say volume 1 is equal to 450 milliliters. When the temperature is 35 degrees Celsius, what information is that? Temperature, right? So, the thing that we know about temperatures is you can't leave it in degrees Celsius. We have to convert it to Kelvin. So we're going to add 273 to that in order to get a temperature of 308 Kelvin. Okay, so I added 35 plus 273 to get 308. All right, and then the pressure is 115 kilopascals. So I'm going to put pressure 115 kPa. Okay, so then we continue reading. It says, what would be the new pressure? So that tells me that I'm solving for pressure 2. So I'm going to put pressure 2 is equal to a question mark. Okay? And notice I'm leaving it in line with the other pressure that I had just gotten. I'm not going to like rearrange them. Okay? And then it says if the volume increased to 800 milliliters, so I have volume 2 is 800 milliliters, and the temperature increased to 45 degrees Celsius. So my temperature 2 is going to be 45 plus that 273 because we have to convert it to Kelvin. You cannot leave it in Celsius. I can't stress that enough. So that would be 318. So 318 Kelvin. Okay? All right. So now we have all of our givens. So we would plug that into our little setup over here that you see on your paper. Okay, and so we would see that we would have pressure 1, volume 1, temperature 1. Pressure 2, we don't know. That's who we're solving for. Volume 2 and temperature 2. All right, so at this point, yes, we're going to be doing this crisscross thing. But just because I know a lot of us still use our phones as the calculators, even though there's some over there. But I know when you get home and stuff like that, using the phone one is sometimes a little easier. Emma, after we're done with the notes. All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to highlight one half in yellow, the other one in green. The yellow side is always going to be what we start with, and that's what gets multiplied together, right? So I find the diagonal that does not have a letter. This one does not have any letters. This one does. So this one's going to be yellow, so telling me that I'm going to multiply all of those three together, and then I'm going to divide by the two values that are combined with the letter. Okay? So you don't have to write this part down if you don't want to, unless it'll help you with your notes. But this is how I would type it in. I would basically have my 115 times 450 times 318, and I'm setting that equal to this 308 times pressure times 800. So all that I did was I basically showed which ones are related, right? So these are my diagonals. Okay, this is my yellow diagonal, this is my green diagonal. Let me color code this real quick. All right, there you go. So now that I'm here, on my calculator, I'm going to multiply these three together, and then once I have that all typed out, I'm going to push enter to get an answer. I'm going to leave that answer there, and then I'm going to have to divide each of these two values underneath. So I'm going to say divide 308, divide 800. So this is a way that you can do it without having to worry about parentheses and things like that. So I know it's kind of weird writing. This isn't how you would write it for math class, okay? I'm just showing you what I would type in. So I'm going to show you real quick on my calculator. Let me move that right there. All right. So I would have 115 times 450 times 318. Okay? So now I have this ginormous number that is these three things multiplied together. Then I'm just going to go straight over to the dividing. So divide by 308, divide by 800. I'm going to push enter, and I get the answer, 66.8. Okay? So The reason I show it this way is because, once again, you don't have to use the parentheses. So if you're using Google Calculator, if you're using your phone one, it would look as pretty as that. So you would have your 115 times 450 times 318, push enter. I have my big number. Then I'm going to go straight to divide 308. So I'm dividing by the first other number. Then I'm going to push divide again. It's going to already update it for you. I'm going to divide by the other number and then push enter, and you get the right answer. Okay? So hopefully that'll help, because I know a lot of you guys like to use your phone calculators. So please, please, please just make sure if you're going to do that and you're not going to use parentheses, that you're typing it in this way. It's the easy way to do it all kind of in one step. All right? Or not, I guess not one step, but flowy kind of thing. The other thing that I want to point out, because some of you guys are going to be preferring to do it in a way that you're more comfortable with, where I've seen it today, is people multiply this, they write down that answer. They multiply these two, write down that answer, then they divide the two. You can do that. Just know that rounding along the way, you're going to have some error in that number. It's not going to be exactly my answer that I'm going to show you on the board, but it's okay, because you're not doing it wrong. You're doing it fine. All right, so there's like a plus or minus 4 on every answer. Okay? All right. So let's try the next one. Let's make sure we got this. So it says a container of oxygen. Oh, I guess I could have wrote the answer. There's your answer. A container of oxygen gas is at 200 Kelvin. So what is 200 Kelvin? That is temperature. Good. So I'm going to write that. I'm going to label it temperature 1, 200 Kelvin. All right. And 550 torr. What is that? That is pressure. So pressure 1. Okay. Its volume is 3.79 liters. So volume, 3.79 liters. If I move it to a container that has a volume of 8.85 liters, so volume 2 will be 8.85, and the pressure increases to 560 torr, so now my new pressure is 560 torr. What is the new temperature in Kelvin and Celsius? So what is the new temperature? That's who we're solving for. So I'm just going to be plugging into our setup right here. So I'm going to have 550 times 3.79, all divided by 200. I'm going to set that equal to 560 times 8.85 divided by T2, and that's who we're solving for. So at this step, you got to look at your diagonals and figure out which one does not have a letter in it, right? So looking here, this one, oh, there's the letter. So it can't be this diagonal, but this one has 3 numbers. So that's going to be who I'm going to start with. That's who I'm going to multiply together. And then I'm going to divide it by the 2 values in the green line. So I'm going to have you guys go ahead and type that into your calculator, because that's the only way that you'll know if you have a question, and I'll show the answer in a second. But try and type this into the calculator the way that you plan on typing it in. So if you're going to do it the same way that I did on the last one, you multiply yellow together, and then you divide by the 2 greens. Okay? All right. Someone pause this. And then I'll show you guys the answer. All right, so like I said, you should have gotten the answer 475.5. Yeah, okay. I can't remember if that was what I said. All right, so 475.5 Kelvin. And then how would we convert that into Celsius? What do we do? Subtract. Good. So we're going to subtract 273 to get it into Celsius, which will give you 220-ish. $202. Yeah, 202. My bad. So 202.5. All right, so hopefully that showed you if you're going to have questions or not. Make sure you ask me if you did not come up with this answer, because that means that it's a calculator issue, okay? But go ahead and for now flip your page over. On the back, we have this lovely table looking thing. What I need you to do right from the start is don't do the first set of boxes, but right where you see the 1.5, you're going to label this as 1. We're going to go all the way down to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. You will be showing me your work on a separate sheet of paper, okay? So to kind of model what my expectation is, so if you want to come grab a scrap piece of paper, you're more than welcome to it. But this way you'll be able to kind of label whatever paper you're writing your work on as 1 through 7, right? So we're going to do that. So number 1. Okay, so number 1, yeah, that's fine. So number 1, basically this is already telling you what the different variables are. So I'm not making you read through a problem and figure out by the units, right? The units after the numbers. I'm not making you do that thinking, all right? So this is just seriously straight calculator practice right now, all right? So so no excuses. I'm just kidding. But this will really give you a good idea if you need help with the calculator, all right? All right, so first thing we're going to do, we're going to look at this. We have P1, V1, T2, or T1, sorry. And so we see 20 degrees Celsius. What do we know right from the start? Can we leave that 20 degrees Celsius? No, we have to convert it to Kelvin by adding 273. So this will change into 293 Kelvin. Okay, so all your temperatures, we have to make sure they are in Kelvin. All right, temperature 2 was 30, so I'm going to add 273 to that. You'll have 303 Kelvin. Okay, you should already see that this is who you're solving for. So what you're going to do is you're going to figure out, okay, volume 1 is in liters. That means volume 2, my answer will be in liters. So make sure you're paying attention to the units after the numbers, right? All right, so when you go to plug this in, you have the little formula right above it. We're going to take these numbers. So P1, 1.5 times V1, 3, all divided by T1, 293. I'm going to set that equal to P2, so 2.5 times V2. We don't know what that is. That's who we're solving for. All over T2, 303. Okay? So for this first one, again, figure out which diagonal has no letters in it. So the one that doesn't have any letters is this one. So that'll be who you start with. You multiply those 3 numbers together, and then you will divide by the 2 numbers in the green line. Okay? All right, so you will be working through this. I think the goal should be get through number 5, okay? This first one, you can check yourself, make sure you're getting 1.86. If you're not, please come see me as quick as possible so that I can take a look at how you're typing in, okay? All right, so that's going to be that. I'm going to put the answers up here so that you can check your answers along the way, but I won't do that right away, all right? That way you have a little bit of work time. All right.